structure the film that is open enough for the audience members to engage, but with their personal experiences and background and education and cultural differences or whatever. You hear things that are quite extraordinary, or sometimes people even see things in the film that are not really there.
Hey y'all, I'm Juliana, and this is Juliana Talks Films, a channel where I explore and examine films and filmmakers. If you love films and filmmaking, consider subscribing for weekly videos. First of all, Yorgos Lanthimos sounds like a Greek god, and I know he's Greek, but this just really takes the cake. He sounds like some kind of mythological creature, and maybe in a way that's kind of how you can describe him and his films and his film style. He has a very particular aesthetic that is based on realism and is based on kind of to some extent naturalism, but it's pushed to such an extreme that it almost starts to become a kind of like surrealist world. I mean, his world, the worlds that he builds are very much realistic, but they're based in these like surrealist situations and under very extreme circumstances. He's able to infuse his films with this kind of like weird, almost like psychological sci-fi-esque feel and sense, even with the favorites, even with Killing of a Sacred Deer. What's very unique about his films is that they make you think, and they're very deep, and they require you to pay attention and be deeply involved with the characters and the story as things start to evolve and continue to evolve. And of course, the signature style within his films is that he leaves everything very open-ended. So it's really up to you to assign your own significance and meaning into these films, and some people like that and some people don't, but I personally think that being able to do that, being able to engage your audience in such a deep way and make them think and question and wonder every little detail about your film, and then just leave it kind of up to them to assign meaning and significance to it, I think that is the sign of a very intellectually creative artist. But that's just me. So let's delve into some of the approaches Yorgos takes in creating a film.
For me, usually there's no other way. I mean, I think of things that things are for me also more interesting if they're revealed gradually, and if in every part of the way I need to work through what it is that is happening, what it is that I'm seeing, what it is that I think about it, how I feel about it. So for me, the most engaging experience while watching a film or reading a book or anything similar is if things are revealed to you in a way that include you and include your demand from you being engaged. The ambiguity of the ending, I just don't think there's any other way for me to end this film or with a certain kind of ambiguity in any of the films that I've done so far, because mainly what we do is raise questions about many things. So and I don't want to just finish a film by giving a very specific, narrow answer to all of those questions. So that's, I think, how it works for this.
In a sense, if the film had ended with him gouging out his eyes, that would have been an affirmation of love, and if he had instead walked away and left her there, it would have been a denial of love.
Yeah, exactly. So
I think there's also a third version, and they might find another way to be together and not follow the rules of the town, of this other world.
And whatever anyone else can, come up with, because when people are very engaged with films, and if you manage to structure the film that is open enough for the audience members to engage, but with their personal experiences and background and education and cultural differences or whatever, you hear things that are quite extraordinary, or sometimes people even see things in the film that are not really there, in order for them, to justify what it is that they think actually happened or is going to happen, and that's quite interesting to see. And then we looked at completely different stuff, like Andrzej Zulawski films, for the how he films and how the camera is very free and moves, and The Cremator by Juras Hertz, which is there's a very specific use of extreme wide-angle lenses that are contradicted with extreme close-ups. It's a very interesting film. Films like that, and many others, but it was mostly
your stylistic references more than
and really just to be inspired by people that did things differently, and just feel free to go ahead and be bold about our choices. And it wasn't like to reference anything specific that we wanted to imitate, but just for my collaborators to be inspired and feel free that they could do things, they could look at things in different ways, and mostly about that.
But to kind of follow up on his question, do you feel that a world in which there are so many rules and so many obligations does reduce its population to an infantile state?
Well, some of them, for sure. You always find the ones that are questioning things, and that's where the hope is, I guess. But the interesting thing is to observe that people in this film, but in reality as well, follow completely absurd rules, and nobody, you get used to it. You're educated in a certain way, and many years can go by, and people just don't question. It's like that's how it's done, and that's the way it is. And if you distance yourself from it, and I guess we're trying to have that distance by, like I said, pushing things to extreme. When you distance yourself, you can realize how absurd some of the things that we consider normal are. Sometimes you don't know if you think that you see a take and you go like, this is never gonna work, and then you go into the cutting room and you discover that this is the best take, because it all has to do with what the previous shot is and what the actor did in the other shot, and where in the film it takes place. And it's really hard to have all of that in your head when you're doing one shot of one scene, and see a take and go like, yeah, that's it, that's what's it gonna be. So you need to allow the freedom and the variation in order to be able to fine-tune performances, the story, the character, during the editing process. And also, again, the structure also might need to change, because it works on a different way on paper, but when you actually watch the film, again, it's not exactly as you imagined it, so you have to tweak things and change the structure slightly, or find stylistic things that give a different texture to the film. Like, for instance, the cards, the title cards that are in the film, is something that I came up with during the editing, because of the pace of the film. The pace of the film just felt so fast to me that I really needed to put some, points,
barriers.
Some there to signify certain, parts of the film, and then, it became a stylistic thing as well. And we had our wonderful graphic designer, my friend Vasilis, who's done all of the posters of my films, designed them, and it becomes, part of the film that you hadn't necessarily thought of from the beginning. But which you discover during the editing process.
Let me know in the comments below what your favorite Yorgos Lanthimos film is and why. Also, if you guys have any other filmmakers that you want to see and hear from in future videos, of course, let me know in the comments below as well. Thanks so much for tuning in, and as a bonus for powering through the entire video, here is a bonus tip for you. Enjoy.
It was less a choice, I have to say. I mean, it's how life guides you. I mean, making films, especially in Greece, was very difficult. So whatever chance I would find to film something, I would take it. So I was acquainted with some choreographers or dance theater directors, and I started shooting some of their performances, and then started making small videos that were made specifically for filming. So I started having a relation to dance somehow. So I guess that helped me understanding the physicality of things much more, and it's something that I like very much. And I don't know if that's why I mostly work that way with the actors, more physically instead of intellectually or theoretically. But that's a truth, and this whole experience helped me a lot. And of course, I had to do for many years commercials, and that's where I basically learned the technical aspect of filmmaking, which also helped me a lot.